Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Science with Shukul. Today we're going to be talking all about lectins. Are they good? Are they bad? What's all the fuss about? Let's find out. Give this video a thumbs up if you know what it's like to live with IBD, and subscribe to the channel for more videos like this. This channel is designed to help people recover from colitis, Crohn's and any other form of IBD. You can always head to our website, highcarbhealth.com, for a free 30-minute consultation from anywhere in the world. And remember, there is a life after colitis. So lectins became a hot topic of discussion in the nutrition world after a particular book came out that was all about paradoxes and decided or claimed that lectins are a very, very dangerous food and they should be avoided at all costs. And the person who had written the book now sells a whole lot of pills and potions to protect yourself, because you better be careful about those lectins, against the lectins, a particular product called Lectin Shield even. So, what should we think about all this? Are lectins really harmful? Well, the main source of the concern around lectins comes from a case study that was produced where a group of people ate a bunch of undercooked kidney beans and then got all sorts of stomach upsets, and therefore it's been kind of concluded that all lectins are bad and we should really be avoiding them. Now, we all know that eating undercooked beans or raw beans is not a good idea. Who does that? Do you know anyone who eats raw beans or purposely undercooks their beans before they eat them? I don't. And so the conclusions that are being drawn here about lectins are from improper cooking. You guess the solution should be that we maybe just cook our beans better before we eat them. I think that would be the logical conclusion, but no. Because of the fact that lectins are mainly found in plants, and people always trying to find ways to discredit plant-based diets, all lectins are bad. Stop eating lectins right now. First of all, let's find out what a lectin is, and then we'll look into what lectins do in the body, and we'll also look into the different types of foods that you find lectins in. So what is a lectin? The word lectin comes from the Latin legere, meaning to select, and describes a range of carbohydrate binding proteins present in just about every living thing. Various types of lectins have different functions in the body. These functions are similar to those of enzymes, although lectins have a unique structure. In the plant kingdom, the most common types of lectins include legume lentils in beans and lentils, cucurbitase lectins in the juice of cucumbers, melons and squashes, prolamins in grains, agglutinin and hemagglutinin primarily in beans and grains. You may not be aware, but lectins are also present in animal-based foods in varying amounts. The highest concentrations appear in dairy products. And what do lectins do? Like all proteins, lectins have specific effects within the bodies of plants and animals. Known as specific carbohydrate binding proteins, lectins are thought to aid in cell-to-cell contact and communication by binding to carbohydrate structures on cell surfaces. These bindings allow cells to talk to each other and can be linked and unlinked as necessary. Plants appear to use lectins as a form of a natural defense against predators. Some lectins are produced in response to specific stresses, including pathogenic attacks. This might be why certain lectins, such as the phytohemagglutinin found in raw kidney beans, can cause serious digestive upset when consumed without cooking. And the most important point there is that when it's consumed without cooking. If you cook it, you reduce the lectin content and you don't really have those issues anymore. Interestingly, humans cannot digest lectins. They pass through the gut unchanged. Similar to how fiber passes through the body unchanged, but has other uses that are very useful. For example, when fiber is able to escape the digestion and end up in the colon, the bacteria in our gut will ferment the fiber and break it down and produce all these wonderful short-chain fatty acids that play a huge role in the health of the lining of our gut wall. In fact, one of the useful aspects of lectins could be attributed to the successful spreading of seeds. Now, the ability for the seed to pass through the intestinal tract without being damaged appears to, in some part, be attributed to lectin activity binding to the seed. So now that we know what lectins are and what they do, where do we find lectins? What foods seem to have the highest concentrations of lectins? Well, some of the most popular ones are the grains and the beans that people seem to demonize and tell you stay away from them because of the lectins. But there are other foods too that are quite high in lectins that you may not know about. For example, potatoes, tomatoes, corn, squash, carrots, zucchini, melon, grapes, cherries, raspberries, blackberries, garlic, and mushrooms. I don't know about you, but these are some of the healthiest foods that we can find. They're high in lectins, but no one's telling you to avoid them. In fact, if you look at the paleo diet, the majority of that list is included on the paleo diet, which tells you to avoid lectins. It tells you lectins are dangerous, but yet approves all of these vegetables that are high in lectins. Maybe that's the real paradox, that they don't actually know what lectins do and whether they're harmful or not. And they're just caught onto this idea that because a group of people got an issue eating uncooked or improperly cooked kidney beans that seem to have lectins in them, that we should, from that point, base all our assumptions that all lectins are bad and we should avoid all lectins. Doesn't make much sense to me. So we've heard about all of these claims that lectins are harmful to the body, that they're going to cause digestive problems, that they're going to cause disease, that most of our health problems in today's society are caused by plants that have lectins in them, even though the majority of the Western population eats almost or very, very small amounts of whole plant foods. So therefore, mustn't be getting a lot of lectins in their diet. But what about the fact that lectins may be beneficial for your health? No one's talking about that, but there is a reasonable amount of research that shows that lectins have some really positive benefits in our diet. And that makes a little bit of sense when you think about the fact that some of these foods that I just mentioned are some of the healthiest foods you can eat. And they are going to have some health benefits if you consume them regularly and in a whole food plant-based diet. So let's look at some of these benefits. The first one is inflammation. Lectins may be able to help with inflammation. How does that work? Well, there's one specific group of lectins called selectins, which helps the immune cells, such as leukocytes, bind to injury sites in the body by allowing the initial attachments and facilitating the movement of these cells along the damaged tissues. Now for the big one. Lectins can actually help in the destruction of cancer cells. Certain properties of these lectins suggest therapeutic benefits for certain diseases involving malignant cells. In these cases, the binding properties of lectins appear to cause cytotoxicity and promote apoptosis, cell death, in diseased cells with little or no effect on nearby healthy cells. So the lectins are going to go into your body and help with destroying the damaged cells in the body, but leaving the healthy cells alone. That sounds pretty great to me. So there we have it. In fact, after looking through the research, I think lectins are a misunderstood protein. I don't believe, based on what we just looked at, that they're as harmful as what is being claimed by the Paleo movement, by people like Dr. Gundry, who's written The Plant Paradox. In fact, I'm going to link an article down below which goes through some of the claims in Dr. Gundry's book and actually fact checks them and finds out, well, what is the basis behind those claims? Are there any real studies that support his, assertions around lectins and some of the other bold claims that he's also made in his book? So highly recommend having a read of that. But we now know that lectins are a part of some of the healthiest foods that we can eat. Some of the whole plant foods that have been building health in human populations for centuries and thousands of years. In fact, we found that they can help with inflammation. We also found that they can help with cancer cells and destruction of those cells while leaving the healthy cells alone. So there may be some really valuable benefits to lectins, and the only adverse effects with lectins seems to happen if you don't cook beans properly. So just avoid doing that. Cook your beans and enjoy these really healthy foods that contain lectins without being scared of them, without getting worked up with some of the claims that are just patently not true. Okay, well, I hope you found that video useful. If you did, please give the video a thumbs up. And if you have any questions, note them down in the comments below. Now, I also am aware that a lot of people have found benefits by changing to the kind of diet that's promoted in the plant paradox. And, of course, if you go from a standard Western diet that's full of refined foods, packaged foods, fast foods, and not been eating a healthy diet, moving to eating more plants, more fruits and vegetables and foods that aren't processed is going to cause an improvement in your health. However, I will preface that by saying that looking at a whole food plant-based diet compared to what is recommended by people in the paleo diet community, people such as Dr. Gundry, who's written the Plant Paradox, it does not compare. The benefits do not compare to what we find when people adopt a whole food plant-based diet and make amazing health gains by shifting to eating whole fruits, vegetables, whole grains, legumes, cutting out the refined foods and the oils. Okay. If you want to see more videos like this, please hit the subscribe button on the YouTube channel and the little bell notification icon, which will give you updates to all our recent uploads. In the meantime, make sure you eat plants, even if they contain lectins. Eat plants and lots of them. Take care, everyone.